This episode of the Coarse Grind Podcast has been brought to you by Central Sports and Graphics Incorporated, family-owned and operated screen printing and embroidery business located in a historic storefront on Old Berwick Road in the heart of SB. They've been doing screen printing for over 20 years. They have high-quality product at a low price. Be sure to check them out. Central Sports and Graphics Incorporated, 570-784-1212. Now, on to the show.
This is Chef Jim Smith, chef owner of the Hummingbird Way in Mobile, Alabama, and chairman of the Alabama Seafood Marketing Commission. You're listening to the Coarse Grind Podcast with Sean Rossler.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is episode number 126 of the Coarse Grind Podcast. With you this evening, host creator Sean Rossler. How's everyone doing tonight? You know, if you haven't gotten used to the curveballs I'm throwing lately, well, good. I do kind of like that. As a host, from time to time, I do like to keep you guessing. These days, it just so happens that Mother Nature, virology, and a dopey orange child at the grown-ups table just happens to give me an easier time of doing that. All kidding aside, along with the current climb, which we've spoken of at length lately with not one but two COVID panels, come some struggles in the culinary realm in a variety of forms, so it's important we all keep a strong focus on our mental well-being. But as is so often the case, just when you feel like you're alone in your struggles, and it's easy to do, more to come on that, stay with me, someone else steps up and shares their story, and you realize not only are you not alone in your struggles, in your worries, but that it's someone from an entirely different realm. Connections can be made between the culinary arts and, oh, I don't know, acting. Cue tonight's guest. You ever watch a comedy from Canada, and you're not quite sure what's to make of it, but then you watch a little more, and you just happens to starts to loves it? That's the worst impression, and he's going to fucking slaughter me for that later. Anyway, that's how I found out about this guy. Connor the Vape Lord, on the now infamous, in the best possible way, Letterkenny, has done what I love when celebrities do. Use their powers for good. And what good? Mental health awareness. From the Mind of Plywood, a new web series focuses on several aspects of mental health, one of the most pressing, pertinent, and appropriate being stress and stress management. But there's a lot more there, trust me. We wanted to bring him on and chat about mental health and why we so often like to rope ourselves off as unique entities, professions that experience stress only in a way that we can understand. Of course, we're all unique, right? Got it. Especially today, it's here, it's real, and we should talk about it, and I cannot wait to start doing so. So, without further ado, Ferda, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, my guest this evening, Skid extraordinaire Connor of Letterkenny fame, mental health champion, and legit all-around good dude and skater, we gotta get to that, Patrick Plywood McNeil. What is going on, brother?
Not too much, man. How is everyone? If you can respond back to a podcast and we can hear it.
Yeah, man. It's I think how are we? Well, again, not to harp Letterkenny, but how are you now? I gotta say, like, I almost have to wonder if that could be like the anthem of what's going on now. And I know through your channel and through our chats, mental health awareness. You've really started to embrace. What a simple question, and yet how powerful are those words? And at the same time, to ask it, I think a lot of times we'll say, how you doing? And we don't expect the answer. So, just straight away, Letterkenny, forward quote, how are you now? I think that should really be the theme that we work with here, Pat. So glad to have you on. And honestly, as a fan, can't believe I have you on, and can't wait to learn more about you, buddy. So, without further ado, let's get you right in the hot seat. And can you tell all of us, host and listeners combined, where you grew up and where you got your start in acting?
I would like to say thank you for having me on first. Oh. It's an honor. I'm just a small town dude, just like you or anyone else probably listening to this. I grew up in North Bay, Ontario, Canada, and there's not much to do in that town but throw donuts at old people, so that's pretty much what I did growing up. It was I grew up watching CKY and Jackass, so I built up a little crew called Blacktooth and Dirt Squad. So Blacktooth was my skateboarding side, where I will go to hang out with my skate homies, and then I had my Dirt Squad side, where we go do a bunch of fire and fucking stunts and stupid shit. And I combined that together, and I made DSBT TV a few years ago, but that's going way too far into the future. Growing up in North Bay, I always had a camera either in front of me or behind me. We always were filming the most gnarliest footage, blah, 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 this and that. And then one day, one of my Dirt Squad colleagues, who has been on the Plywood Mine channel, his name is Peter Klein, he filmed it, and he's been in a few episodes of the Top Picks Minute there that I do. And he told me that he's going to enroll in television and broadcasting in college. So he went to that. He took it for about 2 years, and he told me about it. You get like thousands of dollars at the year, and you can make your own shit. And I'm like, dude, I have to do this. Yeah. So I started getting into there. I got into television. I graduated from that. I went into cinematography, and I graduated from that. And then one day, I'm at the skate park, and a guy comes up, and he says, "Yo, they're having these auditions for this show called Letterkenny, and they're called Skids, and they do meth and fucking this and that." And I'm like, dude, I'm a haggard fucking shit. I'm definitely going to audition for that shit. So I skateboarded home. I went all the way back home, and I got my fucking, I got my buddy to grab my phone, just film me. I auditioned for Roald, I auditioned for Stewart. I gave it to them, and I just waited. I'm like, hey, it'd be cool if I got into a TV show. Yeah. And then I graduated college, and the night of graduating, the casting director calls me and says, hey, we don't want you to be one of the main Skids, but we want you to be one of our continuity background Skids who kind of just hang out in the background. You know, they look all messed out, and they dance. I'm like, sign me up. So then I went up to Letterkenny, and I pretty much showed up in wardrobe. I just had to change my shirt, and it's been started ever since. And then I met some crew members, and they were named Tom and Axel Green, and they were grips. And I started working with them as a grip, and I've been doing that for a few years now as well. And they gave me the nickname Plywood because I showed them a poster of a sketch I did on DSBT TV where I fell off a ladder, about an 8-foot ladder, I think, through 2 pieces of plywood. And that's how I got the nickname.
Nice, dude. That's
pretty much a synopsis of how I kind of grew up.
Listen, I've been at this shit now for over 5 years, and that may be the best answer to the opener. I mean, it can't count. It can't compare legally because we're talking culinary and we're talking acting, but goddamn, that is phenomenal. So that's where the plywood comes from, because I was wondering, like, where exactly that came from. And so, like, Letterkenny, for those uninitiated, and I would explain it, but I'll likely get too fanboyish about it. Not gonna lie, I fucking love Stewart. Like, one of the coolest, like, oh my god, so funny. But for those uninitiated, see, I told you I would fan out a little bit. For those uninitiated to all things Letterkenny, can you give folks the 30-second version of what Letterkenny is? And I mean, certainly go more, but, you know, give us, especially us in the States, because I know there's regional humor, and there's definitely Canadian clicks that we might not necessarily get down here. So, Letterkenny 101, go.
Letterkenny consists of 5,000 people, and it consists of skids, hicks, hockey players, and Christians, and they all have their problems, and that's what the show revolves around. A lot of it is a lot of fast-paced chirping and Canadian humor, and a lot of people who are not from Canada think it's all real, so I think that's what really draws Letterkenny in.
I can't believe... Now, I am also a long-standing Trailer Park Boys fan. I think comedy has actually originated in Canada since day one. I think the funniest shit comes across the border. I'm not going to lie. And so, like, that cultural difference is so key and so clutch. And I think that's what honestly draws me to it. Not only is it funny, but I have Canadian colleagues in the e-learning space, and they look at me like twice, like real quick, like, how did you know that? I'm like, Letterkenny. I know how this goes. So you're kind of giving me the cultural backstage pass with your show too. So that's phenomenal. And so you've been with Letterkenny ever since, and obviously that's how I came to know of you on Insta. And then I see this channel from the Mind of Plywood, and I watch, and I'm amazed because, again, to your point, you know, kind of the atmospheric skid in the back, to come out with such profound statements on just, stress management as an example, or I know we were talking before the mics went live, mindfulness. Clearly
and
you've
really stupid comedy as well.
Well, but isn't stupid comedy kind of a stress beater in and of itself?
Yeah.
So
I just make my videos just to like kind of distract people, give them like 5 minutes to turn their brain off, because it's just a bunch of I don't bully anyone, I don't make fun of anyone, I just make fun of everyday life situations or how someone would go stir crazy during quarantine, you know what I mean?
Absolutely. And that's, I think in a comedy, landscape, and I mean, you could certainly speak to this better than I can. A lot of comedy does revolve around that picking humor, and that's certainly not the term for it, but like you have to make someone a victim of your attack to make it be funny. Whereas being able to laugh at ourselves, and this is kind of making the transition here, watch what I do here, 5+ year podcast host, I better have some transitions to me. Being able to laugh at yourself is actually some pretty potent medicine.
Yep.
And especially in the climate, in the landscape that we're in today, you can look at the culinary field, which is where I'm coming from with this show, and, you can look at acting. I mean, you guys were scheduled to do, like, a live tour, right? And that's obviously off the books now, yeah?
Yeah, they're not doing it anymore. It was Tyler, Evan, Jared, Michelle, Nathan Dales, Kay Trevor Wilson, and Mark Ford all on tour for this year, but it got canceled due to that pesky-ass COVID-23 or whatever it's called.
Yeah, the 19, 23, 27 bingo.
It just sounds like a radio station,
It does. COVID-19, virus all day.
It's COVID-23, coming back to you.
Over to you, Pat. Talk to me about what's the weather over there? Highly cloudy with a chance of death. It's no one's immune at this point, and I think like if we look at this from the point of mindfulness, from the point of mental well-being, I almost think there's something gratifying, and I'd love to hear you talk about your thoughts on this. That for the negative that this is, and believe me, and I've said this a couple times now about COVID when it comes up as a topic, it is a negative thing. Hands down, we would be much calmer if it weren't here. But as almost an equalizer, as almost one that draws all of us together, like, a random Bush League podcast host from Bloomsburg and a friggin' Canadian TV celebrity, I think it's bringing people together in a weird way.
Yeah, I don't know about celebrity, but...
Well, I'd call you one, so take that for what it's worth.
I'll take it. I'll take it for $1. I'll take it in a bag.
There you go. But I mean, do you think when this is all said and done that we're just a tighter species together? Like we come together much tighter than we ever have before?
There's a silver lining in that, with my opinion on it. I think that some people will learn from this, and I think a few others won't.
Yeah.
They just will think that, because a lot of people don't think that they have problems with them, and they fucking start realizing that, people are starting to tell them, this is happening, this is what I see, these are patterns that I see, and you're ignoring them, then there's a problem with that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I got into mental health myself.
Yeah.
I wasn't doing very well for myself. I wasn't creating like I usually do. That's my passion. That's what I'm always doing, always making things. I wasn't being very nice to my girlfriend at the time, and she's my current girlfriend now because we worked everything out and we're stronger than ever. More on that possibly later.
Yeah.
And I just realized I need some help, and I never liked asking for help for anything because I had a problem with it growing up. I struggled through school. I had to repeat grade 4. It got made fun of. I got bullied and this and that, right?
Yep.
So I don't like thinking that, I need help, but I needed help. So, and my girlfriend at the time now too, who has pretty much saved my life, has told me, you do, and you need to get your mind in order, Patrick. It's going to be better for you. And she told me that shit. I really took it and I ran with it. She told me multiple times, but one day I finally just hammering a nail, I finally figured it out, It takes human beings forever to figure it out.
Yeah.
So I finally figured my thing out to get my help, and I started getting help. That's awesome. I read a bunch of books. I started out with Mind Over Mood, and that was a great book to teach good CBT exercises.
Yep.
And then I got into You Are Not Your Brain, the 5 steps on how to defeat your deceptive thoughts, which was a fucking grand book. And then I got into The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, Everything is Fucked by Mark Manson.
Yep.
Then I got into I Used to Be a Miserable Fuck by, I think his name is John Kim. These were all excellent reads, and they became my Bibles after reading them. I read them about 3 or 4 times over each, and I took out specific parts that really worked for me. And every time I wake up every morning, I just try to tell myself these things. It doesn't work every time, but most of the time nowadays it does. I wake up, I tell myself, like, okay, you're going to get into your routine, like, let's try to build ourselves some motivation, this and that, stay on top of your diabetes, like, just a bunch of mindful things, you know what I mean?
Yep.
But through this whole quarantine thing, it's not really different for me. I usually do just sit at home, you know, just have my thumb up my bum or just chilling around, you know, just doing whatever.
Right
but,
on.
like, it's like, it's a little different now because, like, I don't have that choice to go out, or I don't have that choice to go here, or, like, to go hang out with my friends and go out to the bar, or go to Walmart and go bowling with my girlfriend, or whatever the fuck, you know what I mean? Whatever normal people do.
No, totally.
That's the only thing that kind of screws with me, but the rest of it is just, like, you gotta tell yourself that, like, if you just follow, like, what the protocols are, because these are what WHO is telling us, which is pretty much everyone, it's what we gotta listen to, you know, like, they're above us, that's what you gotta do, so.
Yep.
I don't know, I have other opinions on that too, but anyways, I don't want to get into that.
No,
but
yeah.
if you follow the precautions, then you just like, you're going to flatten the curve like they want us to do, you know what
Exactly.
I mean? Like, get rid of it. Like, let's get over this and let's resume normal life, because I want to get back in front of the camera. I want to get back behind the camera with all my grip homies. I want to hear Plywood from way far ahead on a set, you know? Like, I miss it, but at the same time, I'm like, while you're doing this and while you're going through it, because it is a trauma in itself, just try to work through it in a positive manner and choose to be positive and choose to work on your things and choose to be creative and, like, try to make people laugh. Try to make yourself laugh. Laugh at yourself. Laugh at old 90s sitcoms you used to laugh at when you were a kid. You know what I mean? Just, like, there's so much things you can do, but, like, if you let this pandemic get to your head in the fear-mongering way, then you're not going to get anything done and you're not going to pass the time in a healthy, efficient way. You know? So that's what I just found out this whole thing.
That's it, man. You couldn't be more right. And there's a veritable shit ton of things you just said I want to circle back to. But one of the first ones that I've had to come to grips with since we're offering up, like, your school story and everything like that, and I think this might be maybe the second time on air I've ever expressed this. I was born with a, for the time, pretty severe birth defect and surgery 4 times before the age of 4. As a result, developed a severe speech impediment. To the point where I couldn't really complete a sentence at a regular cadence until I was in, until it was in 9th, 10th grade. And here I am, a talk show host, so go figure how that shit works. Well, I can tell you how that shit works. But to your point, Pat, you know, the bullying, you know, everything that comes with it, man. Kids are an easy target, and it's, you know, it's hard. In 10th grade, my mom encouraged me to try out for the school musical. All right, and here's where maybe we connect on the acting front. I said, Mom, you know, I didn't say this, but I'll summarize it. You gotta be fucking kidding me. I can barely finish a sentence. How am I gonna act? She's like, would you please just do it? Cool, I'll do it. So I get up on stage in front of all my peers, which is horrifying, of course. And the director, who is my mom's friend, hands me the book and is like, you're gonna read the part of Duty. It was from the play Grease. And go. And, of course, I get to my first line, and it's fucking... And she stops it, and she stands up. She takes the playbook out of my hand, hands me a song sheet, and goes, all right, you're going to sing this first part of the song. I'm like, sing? Well, I know the song. She's like, okay, cool, sing it. Piano starts, and I sing. Dude, every consonant, every syllable, pronounced beautifully. I look at the back of the house. My mom's in the back, like, covering her face, crying, because I realize, oh my God, if I syncopate my speech, I can get past this. And so literally the stage saved I don't know if it saved my life, but it did a pretty good damn job of making this podcast happen. So, you know, fast forward, you know, I was always, you know, pretty smart kid and had high expectations. I was an only child. And so my struggle and what you said about I wake up every day and I say, you know, it might not happen every day. Like you might not be perfect. Perfect was always a struggle for me. Perfect was a huge struggle for me, and to that end, and with the anger that accompanied it, my wife patiently stayed and worked with me while I sought help, and that was 9 years ago, and I've been in that place ever since. Just constant mindfulness, constant work. We are works in progress. We are not perfect. We will mess up. We will have old behaviors, but if we can make them 1% more rare each day, we're doing a good job.
Yeah.
So there you go.
No, that totally makes sense.
That's me. Wow, I just got really naked on air. I don't think I've ever actually shared that full length with everybody. So there you go, listeners. Enjoy that. Take that and go with it.
Well, it's probably because I'm fucking as open as you can get. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I'm talking to you like we've been friends for 10 years. Because that's how I treat everybody. That's how you should treat everybody.
And see, I noticed that. I literally noticed that message one. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. First of all, I think the people from like Top Chef and the other shows that I talk to are chill, and I'm like, dude, this guy has no reason to talk to me, and yet. Like in my professional circle, e-learning, I go and I present at conferences and everything. I do this ukulele learning session where we use music and the neuroplasticity of the brain as a platform to kind of show how music can be used to help people learn, right? And, people message me hesitantly afterwards, like, I didn't want to bother you. I'm like, what are you talking about? Bother me. Like, you're not bothering me. I love it. What? Like, what can I do for you? How can I help you? And that's always where I come from. And so I think you and I both, again there, Pat, we come from a mindset of service, and I think that certainly soothes my creative soul. I don't know about yours.
Just one more time about that. Like I was just really trying to listen. Just one more time.
Yeah, no, totally. Just that, being open in that way, being approachable in that way. Whereas I think a lot of people view somebody asking you for help as a bother. Instead, and I think this gets to that mindfulness, factor. Instead of looking at somebody asking you for help as a bother, what if we looked at it as, this person wants my help because they think I have something that I can help them with. Like I have a piece of knowledge that they don't. So in essence, it's a compliment when people ask you for help or ask you for a favor or what have you.
I put out an open thing always saying, like, when I put my stories on Insta, I just say, if you feel like you're alone or whatever, just message out to me, man. Like, I don't ignore my DMs. Like, I know that, like, it can get overwhelming after a while once you get a little bit more, like, I don't know, not so much fame, but just more notoriety, pretty much.
Yeah.
And you have all those followers, and you get all those messages and everything, and I can see why some people can't message, and they have to, like they have to get someone to hire them or do whatever, because you get so big, right? But
yeah.
For me, like, what I always wanted to do, and I always said I'm going to do if I ever get fans, which I'm starting to get now, is if they send me a DM, it doesn't matter how long it takes, I'm going to try to get to it. I'm going to try, even if I get to a point in my career where I'm, like, really well known or whatever,
yeah. I'm
still going to try and take an hour out of my day and my off time to try to get to these DMs and try to get to these, letters and everything, because I think they deserve that. And it's just like, I notice lots of people who start getting to, like, fame and stardom and this and that, like, they're not humble. They kind of take it all in, and they're like, well, I'm here, I'm there, and their ego builds up, and they build up with it, and they don't know how to slay it.
Exactly.
Where it's like, you're still a human being where it comes. It doesn't matter how much of the fucking figure salary that you have. It doesn't matter what car you drive. It doesn't matter how hot your wife or husband are. You are a human being. You still desire acceptance, and you still desire love like everyone else.
Yep.
You are just being a certain way with certain things, you know what I mean? But
yeah.
With anyone who has mental health problems or struggles or anything like that, like, I could give them as best advice that I have. I'm only on the first or second rung of my mental health journey,
Yeah.
There's so many rungs of that ladder to go. I'm going to constantly grow until the day that I die.
Yep.
So, like, I'm always going to learn all this new stuff about me, about how the brain works, about how to be a better lover, how to be a better boyfriend, how to be a better son, a better friend, everything,
Yeah, man.
So if someone comes at me with a problem and I try to dig something in I don't know about it, that's pretty much me becoming uncomfortable. So once I become uncomfortable, I can find comfort in it by, figuring out my own way to answer it.
Yeah.
So like I like all this. Like I would like when someone is having a problem, or if they feel like they're in the dark, or if they can't talk to someone, just come to me. I'm very open-minded. I've watched a lot of horror films in my life. I got a pretty much fucked up mind in my head, so nothing's really going to bug me too much. You know what I mean? Just
yeah, man.
talk to me.
Yeah, and see that just
Seen some fucked up shit, you know?
That's right, and that makes such total sense. And you know, I've used my platform, you know, far more limited than yours, buddy. But you know, I put it out there, and especially after Bourdain passed, you know, and really when you get back down to it, it was all a matter of mental health at that point, and you know, all of the baggage that comes with it. You said something really important. I want to go back to, and I want to understand how you approach this ego slaying. You know, the ego. If we look at basic psychology, yes, the ego serves a function, as does the id, as does the superego. Cool, whatever. But the ego is the one to probably act out the most. It's the skid in the back of the classroom throwing shit at the teacher, like constantly. And how did you, or now I'm saying did you as in you've done it, if you're in the process of slaying your ego or keeping it in a check, how do you do that, dude? I mean, here you are, a successful actor, successful grip, doing all these cool things. It would be really easy for you to have said, hey, podcast ass, take a hike. And yet you approached it with such genuine kindness. I can't thank you enough. So how do you keep that in check? What is it that you do?
To keep my ego in check, I have a video on it on my YouTube, so
Beautiful.
That's one thing you can check out if you want.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mean to toot my own horn or promote myself, but you know.
Oh, we're going to be plugging. We're going to be plugging later, buddy. Don't you worry about that.
I took it. That's what heroes do. But anyway, slaying my ego is just like, I don't know. Everyone gets offended at things. We all have trigger words. We all have trigger conversations. We've all been through things. You know what I mean? So when you start getting into those things that you've been through and those trigger words, instead of reacting to them, like when they come up in your everyday life, you got to kind of like just take a step back for a second, reflect on it, think about like, why does that offend you? Why does this bug you? Why is certain stuff bugging you and everything like that? The more you ask yourself these questions, they get stupider over time. And then the stupider the questions get, you can't answer them anymore. And then you just forget about what you're mad about. That's one of my techniques I do. It doesn't work for everyone because mental health is not one size fits all. And I cannot stress that fucking enough. I can't. Yep. And I can't stress this enough either, that happiness isn't a fucking pursuit.
Nope.
You're a fucking idiot if you think that. It's a fucking workout. It's like working out in a gym.
Yep.
You got to work out your brain every day to be happy. You got to build your fucking goddamn, what's it called there? Not dystopia, a utopia. That's what you got to do. You got to build your own fucking utopia in your brain because you're in there. You're in your fucking flesh until you're dead, right? Like, so you got to keep yourself up there. Obviously, it's not going to be the best every single day because you're a human being and human beings feel, and we got these things and desires and this and that, and there's such a fucking complication to us. But like, if you just accept like who you are and like stop giving yourself such a shitty version of yourself based on like all the things that you've done and just kind of let go, it becomes easier to let go of your ego. It becomes easier to slay the things that kind of bugged you a bit more than they do now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like all my findings anyway, this is what I have found.
Yeah.
So I always just try to stay on top of it. And like I said, happiness is a muscle. So all these CBT exercises I do, all these techniques that I talk about, I try to put them into my everyday life every freaking day because that's the only way you can keep happy and know like where you are in life and know how humble you can be.
Yeah, man.
And it's like right now I'm kind of going a bit crazy in certain ways. Like I'm spending a lot of time with my woman all the time. Her name is Cassandra. She's awesome. And, like, she went to Toronto to go visit family, and then the COVID thing happened, and she's stuck there, so we're both quarantining in different places, and it really sucks not being with her.
Gotcha.
But I still take all these techniques I have, and I put them in my head, and I'm like, it's all going to be over, and you're going to hold her one day, and everything's going to be good, and,
That's so fucking
just
rad.
keep taking the precautions, Patty boy, and just keep going forward. That's it. Look into the forward.
That's all you can do.
And live in the now.
That's all you can do, man. And to play devil's advocate for a minute, because I think, you know, certainly you're fucking successful, awesome, life and everything. And, I'm not doing too bad over here. Career, podcast, kids, family, wife, cats. The cats are optional. I could do without them. But anyway, we've got those things going for us. How does somebody who maybe is going through a struggle attain that mindset? Like, and that's not to say either of our lives are perfect, but they're definitely, I would assume in your case, Pat, like stable, right? How does someone who, like, the shit's been ripped out from under them, and I'll use the culinary industry right now, 75% of restaurants are predicted to potentially shutter up and just close. Mm-hmm. Workers have been furloughed ad nauseum across the industry. Neil Fraser was on my panel. He furloughed 200 people. Hosea Rosenberg, another recent episode, he trimmed his staff down that was like, I don't know, I think he said like around 150 or so, down to 8. This is bad news for them. How do they at least start to keep that mindfulness? How do they start to, employ these techniques, these mindsets? Is there a way to navigate those stormy seas? I think is what I'm getting at.
Well, first, you want to admit that, like, you have to accept that you want help and need help, okay? So that's what I did first.
Yep.
And then it's just finding out, like, well, how do I get these resources? So you find out, like, you can go talk to a counselor, psychiatry, blah, blah. Or you can start with books and, like, you can do it your own way. But I advise you not to do it your own way because you're still going to be biased in a sense. You should do it the traditional way and then start doing things that work for you.
Yeah.
So for someone who has a really bad mindset and can't get out of their ruts, the best advice I can give them is just, like, start with little things. Like, if you don't put pants on every day, put pants on. If you don't really keep your area clean, tidy up your area. If you don't brush your teeth every day, go brush your teeth for that day. Or, like, and you have to write these things down, and you call them little wins. I got this little book called Little Wins for Little Sir. And it's like all these little things that I did over the first time of doing my mental health challenges was like, I opened up the fridge. There was a water and a beer. What did I choose? I chose the water. Write that down that you chose the water instead of the beer because you always went to the beer, or you always went to this, or you always went to that. Like, you're breaking habits. You're exhibiting veto power, which is like, if you're always checking your phone all the time to see if your girlfriend's texting you, or like, oh, like I can't not check my phone. It's like veto power is keeping your phone away. This is a term I took from the book "You Are Not Your Brain" that I read a year ago. Mm-hmm. And that's helped me out a lot. So a lot of it is just, you have to admit that you want the help. You have to give yourself the dedication to get the help, and you got to start making small, little, tiny, minor changes. And you have to acknowledge these small, little, tiny, successful goals. Because there's all these tiny, small, successful goals and small, little, tiny tasks that, like, are little wins for you will become bigger wins later on. Like, you will pay your rent on time. You will fucking start paying your car bills more. Your rent, your jobs weren't looking better. Like, you're more focused at work. You're more this, and everything starts opening up in different aspects of your life. The more that you put small, little, tiny changes into it, it's pretty much just reevaluating, like, what do you give a fuck about the most? Like, if it's partying and hanging out with everyone and getting fucked up on coke and blah, 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 it's like, maybe you should put that down at the bottom of the list and start putting the priorities of your life, like love and your relationship or your friends, like, in front. You know what I mean? Like, if you start prioritizing what you should give a fuck about more, that's how I found I got more mentally stable, more mentally happy, and I feel happier every day than I have since I started doing these mental health changes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. And I think too, when you accept the fact, and again, this was really hard for me, and it sounds like it might have been maybe an easier lift for you. I had a hell of a time with it, Pat, and I still do. Like, I'm a broken human being. And here's the good news. We're all broken to a degree. What do you do with something that's broken? You fix it. Is it fixed immediately? Yep. No, not necessarily.
No.
Be patient with yourself. Be patient. I said this to my wife tonight. Okay, so today, we both work remotely to begin with, so this has done like nothing to our work situation, but with 3 kids here, it has done something to our work situation. But she had off today, and I didn't, right? And so I'm down here, I'm pounding away on e-learning, whatever. And I come up, and I could tell her wires were a little thin. and she had enough. And I just sat next to her, and I patted her leg, and I said, be patient with you. Again, 4 words. I love 4-word statements. Be patient with you is one of my favorite things I say to her. And we don't do a good job of that. You know, we want to believe that we are already perfect, that we're going to do everything right, and when we are fallible, we do a great job of forgiving others most of the time, right? You know, if somebody else fucks up, oh, don't worry about it, dude, it's fine. But you fuck up?
Depends.
Well, okay, fair. But like with a routine,
always depends.
Routine fuck up for the most part, it's like, oh, don't worry about it, bro, it's cool, yeah. But then when we do it, we're our own worst critics because we
We're
hold
like,
ourselves.
Where's the news?
Yes, yeah, exactly, right? So, no, it's yeah, god damn. I can't imagine. I couldn't have imagined before tonight. By the way, this is going to shoot your credibility straight in the foot as a skid, dude, because you're actually a really stand-up guy, like, really insightful. It's going to just blow you out of the water. Sorry, buddy.
Fuck, I gotta get stupid. Okay, I gotta get that frying pan out, beat my head up a bit.
That's right. Take a couple bales off an ollie or something. So
I'll just bash my skateboard into my skull and just get mad or something.
There you go.
Have an off day.
Yes, that's right. So the awareness we've talked about, the self-patience, you know, we've talked about, and veto power. I really love that. Like, we hold the control at any given time to override whatever has been our behavior. Like, true story. I just told you that, you know, I work from home. My wife works from home. She hasn't always, but I've worked from home now, probably going on like 8 years, right? And up until not too long ago, I'm sort of ashamed and yet proud to say now that I know little wins, I wouldn't get dressed for work, man. I'd just stroll down, I'd sit down, and I'd feel like shit through the day. And it was when she read me the riot act, because she's like, yo, you're being a dick, and I think I know why, but you don't want to hear it. And she told me, she's like, you need to start getting ready for the day. You need to start being ready. And I'm 3 months in now to, like, religiously button-down shirt and jeans, coming down and doing my thing. Again, it's small and it sounds ridiculous. And actually, she gave me a little kind of tongue-in-cheek shit about it. She's like, "You're 42. I'm not going to toot your horn that loud." But at the same time, it felt pretty damn good to like realize, like, yo, I've been doing this for a while now. This is pretty cool.
Yeah, and like it's just digging deep inside yourself to like just want to help and just want to be better for you. Because once you're better for you, you're better in everything else. And I started noticing that trickle-down effect that all the books have told me. Mm-hmm. And I kind of didn't believe it at the start because, like, I was like 3-4 months into it, like, on my journey, like, about a year or two ago. And I'm just like, nothing's fucking working. I'm fucking still like this and blah, blah. And it's like you just said, be patient with yourself.
You got to.
And, like, I always say this to my girlfriend. I always say this to my friends. The biggest word in the English language is try. That's all it is.
Yep.
So you just got to try.
Yep.
And what's past is funeral. You can't dig up something that's going to be alive. It's still going to be dead. Past is funeral. It's dead even though if you dig it up. You know what I mean? So like, Absolutely. Just try to keep your past behind you and live in the present moment, because that's what people don't understand is like the present moment is all you have. Tomorrow's not guaranteed. Yesterday already happened, and you can't do anything about it to rip the chapters out. Those chapters are written forever, so you got to keep them there like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. And like the present is the past in the blink of an eye. So that's how quickly it goes. So pay attention to it because it's gone. It's gone in less than a breath. So self-patience, awareness. You know, one thing I want to bring up, and you coming from skating, me coming from music. I have to imagine, and this may be something that, you know, some listeners, most listeners, I don't know how many, have dealt with, and it's a topic that's gotten some attention with regards to bullying as well. Toxic masculinity. Have you done any reading, any insight into this, and maybe what role it's played into your potential opportunities for growth turned into growth?
I actually have some video ideas for that one.
Cool.
Because men are told, like, as much as women have a big, giant, like what is it there? I'm trying to think of the right word.
Well, they have a standard. For lack of a better term, they're held to a standard that they have to be this, and this. You know, if you're near 30 and you're a female, yeah, like if you're near 30 and you're a woman and you haven't had a kid yet, there's something wrong with you. Excuse me? Why?
Fuck off.
Yeah, exactly. And many things like that. And yet, I think something that's flown under the radar, to be fair, oh my God, I just said to be fair. I'm going to fight the urge. Oh, God. To be fair. I know, and I'm glad you did it first, actually. You know, toxic masculinity is this thing where I think it's flown under the radar. For as much attention as we've given bullying as the what, we haven't really looked at the why, which is that, you're a boy, you're a man, you have to act like this. And, you know, I've got 3 boys, and 3 for 3, man. They're not doing any of that bullshit. And as soon as I hear a glimmer of it, I'm like, get over here. We're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about why you think mommy couldn't lift that, or something like that. But anyway, I don't want to blow up your future concept, but just kind of as a quick answer, you know, did toxic masculinity play a role in what you dealt with?
In a way, I guess it was like looking like growing up. Of course, I grew up with guys like you said earlier in the podcast, like CKY type guys, dirt, like we call ourselves Dirt Squad, Blacktooth. So we would always try to be more like, I'm doing the air quotes thing here, manly than each other. So crying wouldn't be a very good thing. Like if you're feeling something, or you fall for a girl, or you're with her, or something like that. You're like, oh, you're stupid, or you're this, or you're that, or blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And, like, I kind of grew up with that a little bit, but I didn't know how to decipher it from, like, you know, because I still want my acceptance from my friends, you know what I mean? Yeah. But at the same time, I'm destroying something of myself so I can get that acceptance. And that's what people aren't, I think there should be courses in school about mental health throughout high school, because that's the most epitomizing time in a person's life. Their brain is starting to fucking develop and become them or Charlie or whatever the fuck their names are, and they're trying to become a person, you know, and then when they go through all this damaging things like dating girls or having friends and having certain expectations to meet up to be with those friends or be in the popular group or be with the Skids or be with the what the fuck ever, right? There's cliques in high school everywhere. And, like, what you have to do is just, like, you gotta get educated on this shit at a young age to, like, get away from that toxic masculinity. So I did grow up with that, yes, and it was taught to me that it's not cool to cry. It's not cool to feel pain. Oh, like feeling like you're a loving person. Oh, that's stupid. That's whatever. Blah blah blah. Yeah. Like, and I thought that was all like, well, I guess you can't do that to be cool. So I want to be cool. Like when I was younger, and that kind of stained my subconscious to kind of go through my 20-year-old years, because I didn't really cry when I wanted to. I didn't really feel when I wanted to. You know what I did? You know what I mean? But like nowadays, since I've figured out like, feelings are like natural, and you have to feel them, and you have to do them in the moment, and you have to talk to people in the moment about stuff, then like your problems just, they get better, and like you feel better. Like I really do. And I noticed that I really have gotten in touch with my emotions, because I haven't cried so much in the past like few years than last year, because like I feel things again, you know, like you feel more intense once you start knowing more about the mentalities of like how humans work and everything. Amen. Because you put yourself in their shoes, and then like you can feel like parts of your life into their life, and it's like, oh man, I feel you so much right now. So it's good to get mental health like advice, get like help, get everything, read a book, go see someone, and like I advise everyone to do it, because it's probably going to make us way more peaceful if we could understand before trying to be understood. You know what I mean? We hold ourselves to this metric, to this measuring stick, that no, I know what I'm about, I know who I am. Like, listen, I used to, you know, I taught 6th, 8th, and 11th grade English, right? And, you know, kids would swear up and down, I know who I am, and then I'd meet them later in life, and they'd be like, yo, I had no idea. But here's the thing, you know, and not to invoke Doctor Who here, but there's a great quote when Matt Smith regenerates. He's the 11th Doctor. Those of you who want to go back and look, go check it out. And he says something to the effect of, we're all different people all through our lives, and that's good. You've got to keep moving so long as you remember all the people who you used to be. Like,
If you say to yourself, quote, I know who I am, you're lying. I'm starting to understand who I am. That's a better truth. You know, and that's always going to be a moving target. And I think it's only when you start to accept the fact that there are holes in your understanding that you gain that understanding. And when you're that, vulnerable, basically, to say I don't know, then you're vulnerable to your emotions. And then they come out. And you realize what truly impacts you. And, like, for me, a good cry... Okay, true story, and my kids will validate this. And there was one that just ran by, and I might have them jump on and validate this for everybody. But our youngest has autism, and he has a Lovey, which is like a little blanket toy with a little bear head on it. And he's had it since he was born, and he's 7. So, I mean, this thing looks pretty haggard. And... but we could not find it for the life of us. And I searched for 2 hours, you know, all around her house. And finally, I remembered him because school is no longer in session, and he loves school. He loves his friends. He was pretending to be in school and getting his lunch bag out and walking over and standing by the door, like waiting for school, waiting for the bus. And I went, oh my God, wait a minute. And I ran in the pantry. I opened up his lunch bag. There was Lovey. And I ran down to my 2 older boys who were looking. I mean, you know, they were hustling too, looking. And I started to explain it to them, and I just lump in my throat, and I just started, like, you know, not full-on weeping, but, like, they saw, and they knew, they understood it. And this is the coolest thing, Pat. Later that night, I don't know, a couple hours later, the 12-year-old comes to me and goes, hey, Dad. I said, yeah, bud. He goes, I want to let you know, remember when you started crying about Lovey? I said, yeah. He goes, yeah, I did too.
Good. That's fucking awesome.
And that's when you know you can put a check in the W column for parenting. Like, the L column is already full of checks. Believe me. Every once in a while...
being a ladies' man, dude, you know? Like, he's going to have to beat off the chicks with a stick, you know?
That's 100%. Right. That's right. Well, he's already got a girlfriend, so there's that.
I don't know.
I'm literally trying to bait him to see if he's within earshot, and I don't think he is. Either that, or he's playing a game right now. Oh, here he comes! Here he comes. Hang on a minute.
I heard every second of that.
Say hi to Mr. McNeil.
Hello, Mr. McNeil.
Hello, Mr. Sean's son.
All right, hit it. So,
Love you.
There you go. Love you too, buddy. So, I mean, that just blew up his spot completely. Oh my God. So yeah, just vulnerability and letting that out. And I mean, there's catharsis in crying, I think. You know, there's this release of all that pent up, you know, I don't want to say toxic masculinity again, to repeat the term, but...
That's what it's there for, though, man.
I agree, dude. Damn. And then, you know, to just bring it back full circle, you know, here we are in this pandemic. If you're not giving yourself space to not feel good, and I know your videos about being in quarantine, like, they take that humorous view, which is awesome, and I adore it, and at the same time, like, look, be patient with yourself, especially during, if never before, like, when everybody gets better and COVID is no longer a thing, still be patient with yourself. Is that a fair ask of everybody, Pat?
Like, everybody should just, like, take this time to actually do what the fuck they're saying to do. Like, stay at home. You know, stay at home and do whatever. Like, go play cards with yourself, play solitaire, sleep in till fucking 5 or 6 p.m. It doesn't matter. You have nothing to do. You're going to get up and watch the same TV programs. You're going to dress up and go to the living room. Like, nah, dude, just take this time. Like, reflect. Like, learn about yourself. Learn about you. Learn about the ones that you love. Like, call people. And this is like a determining time to see if, like, human beings can work together, or if we're still going to be divided as we are because of all this social shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, amen.
Like, we shouldn't be divided. I really advise human beings to kind of just, like, be together, try to be more loving towards each other, be kind. There's no need to, like, point out people's flaws or this or that. It's like everyone's different because their eyes haven't seen what your eyes have seen. Like, everybody has a different story because you've walked a different path of life. Every footstep was different than yours and anybody's, like, ever.
Yeah.
So, like, you got to respect that and keep that into mindfulness, like we were talking about. Then, like,
Absolutely.
the world could get world peace.
Absolutely.
But not everyone's going to want to abide by that rule, because some people think that, like, oh, I'm better because I know this, or oh, I'm better because I'm on this show, or oh, I'm better because I wrote this blog, or whatever the fuck, you know? So the world's always going to be fucked. It's just your world doesn't have to be if you just practice what makes you feel happy. That's
Dude,
all.
that's it, man. That's it. And, I mean, I can't think of a better way to wrap it up, dude, than that quote right there. Like, just let's come together. Let's come together. And we can come together in that we all have our struggles. We all have our things we fight with. And yet we're not alone. None of us are ever alone. Pat, you know, you're out on Insta. I'm out on Insta. I'm out on the, you know, all the platforms. Like, reach out. If you're struggling, just ask for help. There are more people who will want to help than people who will not want to help. I assure you of that. Everybody listening.
Don't be scared.
Don't be scared, homie. Don't be scared. But, man, Patrick Plywood McNeil of Letterkenny fame, because you're famous. There, I'm really gonna lean into over pronouncing it. Dude, you are seriously one of the best, and I hope this stays a friendship for a while. Anything that I can do with the show, you reach out and let me know, brother. You've got me at 100, no matter what time, day, or week, man. I'm all here. I'm all in.
Yeah, dude. You keep doing your thing, and everyone should go listen to this song called by Stormtroopers of Death called We All Bleed Red, because that's pretty much what we all just talked about. We should all unify and be together. My Plywood Mind channel is comedy and mental health, as we've talked about, and check me out on Letterkenny. And there's going to be some new projects from movies that I've been in from last year that are coming out this year, but I can't talk about them yet. So
you can't talk about them.
When I can, I'll let everyone know.
All right, man. He can't. He's so important. He's got shit he can't talk about. I can talk about literally everything in my life.
Tuxedo and everything right now.
Awesome, brother, man. Patrick Plywood McNeil, thank you so much, buddy, for being on. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode number 126 of the Coarse Grind Podcast with you. This evening, myself and the fantastic skid extraordinaire himself, Connor, of Letterkenny fame, Patrick Plywood McNeil.
I'm talking with you, sir.
Our producer, as always, this evening has been Johnny Leland Robinson, a.k.a. the Reverend Johnny Lamoria. Be sure to check out all his libertarian happenings in the Honesdale and his podcast, Cinematic Pig's Feet. Next episode is going to be a veritable culinary legend. You will not want to miss it. Stay tuned. Are you passing through central Pennsylvania and looking for one of the best dining experiences and craft brew menus around? Look no further. Turkey Hill Brewing Company and 991 Central Road in Bloomsburg, PA has everything you could ask for and then some. Service, food, beer together. Unbelievable. Be sure to check them out. Call them today for reservations. 570-387-8422. Call today.